Welcome back. In this episode, we will review the implications of the agreement between the WHO and Google regarding online health information and how that may impact THR advocacy and activities. Science fiction often paints a picture of societies that are akin to an Orwellian novel, where a dictatorial power controls what we can read, say, or do. Well, maybe 1984 is already here, with a rather stark announcement made about the WHO collaborating with Google on a multi-year collaboration agreement to provide credible health-related information to help billions of people around the world respond to emerging and future public health issues. On the surface, this may seem to be an excellent idea in light of the misinformation that was rampant on the web during COVID-19. To help the public access trustworthy information, knowledge panels will cite content from reliable sources covering hundreds of conditions from the common cold to anxiety. Approved health information will be available on Google. It will follow the WHO SMART guidelines, a new approach for making information more accessible to frontline health workers through digital tools. There is no doubt that AI will be used to scan files and video content in order to red flag objectionable material. Information will be controlled or censored by an expert panel with WHO oversight. As part of Google, YouTube is also in on the action, with WHO collaborating with key creators on a series of videos and public service announcements that leverage celebrity voices in order to amplify their public health narrative. Google.org is providing $50 million USD in ad grants to support the World Health Organization in continuing their impactful work in public health.
Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus.
The WHO's history is rife with ineptitude and ethically compromised dealings.
China is doing many good things that's slowing the virus, and the facts speak for themselves. If you see the number of cases, although in China it's more than 40,000, but in the rest of the world we have less than 400, or around 400, and only one death.
And they want to control and censor the flow of information? What's next? Fines or imprisonment for those who have different point of view or don't subscribe to their agenda?
Major developments of global health emergency as the coronavirus reaches its 20th country.
Almost 800 more people have died in New York State alone.
Outside China, 3 cases have been confirmed in France. That's the first time the virus has been identified in Europe.
Can we really trust the WHO with our health? After all, the response to COVID-19 by the WHO was a catastrophic failure. The WHO failed miserably to deal with the COVID-19 outbreak. Despite reports of the virus escaping from China, it was not until mid-March 2020 that the WHO finally conceded that widespread community transmission was occurring and then declared a pandemic.
We have therefore made the assessment that COVID-19 can be characterized as a pandemic.
The U.S. now has more reported cases of the coronavirus than any other country in the world.
More than 500 people reported dead from the virus in just the last 24 hours.
We are bracing ourselves for something we've never seen before.
Pandemic is not a word to use lightly or carelessly.
The Surgeon General calls it an epidemic.
The FDA calls teen vaping an epidemic.
Well, the FDA calls it an epidemic. This is a youth vaping epidemic.
Instead, in January 2020, while it was clear that countries other than China were reporting COVID-19 cases, the WHO spent its time publishing a series of 14 tweets about the dangers of vaping, including claims such as e-cigarette liquid being flammable and that secondhand vapor is lethal to bystanders, both of which is false.
It is somehow unimaginable, unbelievable, that in the most famous city of the richest country in the world, they're digging mass graves for those who can't afford a funeral and for those who died of coronavirus with no next of kin.
Failures by the WHO during the COVID-19 pandemic at multiple levels led to millions of preventable deaths and a reversal in progress towards sustainable development for many countries. Let's get real here. This is the same organization that elected North Korea to its executive board. It is difficult to fathom why Kim Jong-un, a global pariah, has been welcomed with open arms by an executive body that decides approaches to healthcare and public health policies worldwide. It is not even the first time that the WHO has got its priorities all wrong when it comes to deadly diseases.
WHO people were really not at the level required for the job. Their coordinator never worked on Ebola before. Immediately I thought, those people are useless. They don't even understand what they're supposed to do here.
I am declaring the current outbreak of Ebola virus disease a public health emergency of international concern.
In 2014, the previous Director General, Margaret Chan, ducked a conference to discuss the fast-growing outbreak of Ebola in Africa and instead flew to Moscow, just months after Russia had shot down Malaysian Airlines Flight 17 over Ukraine.
Evidence indicates that the plane was shot down by a surface-to-air missile.
To just have tea with Russian dictator Vladimir Putin and make a speech implying that banning e-cigarettes is a far more important use of her time. Just as shocking, the WHO and current Director General Tedros Ghebreyesus met with Russian Deputy Health Minister Oleg Salagay on the 29th of March to discuss Russia's work to advance maternal and child health.
Russia is guilty of a war crime after a maternity and children's hospital was bombed in the besieged southern city of Mariupol.
Considering that Russia has been bombing hospitals and maternity units in Ukraine while stealing children from their parents, the head of WHO praising Russia for its child-friendly health policies is beyond parody. A WHO meeting in November this year is being set up to treat vaping and other reduced-risk products the same as lethal combustible tobacco, on the basis of junk science and misinformation. So, a global health organization that wants to control the flow of information via censorship, yet supports some of the worst governments in the world, all the while peddling policies contrary to public health. Can they really be trusted?